And we are back with the fourth segment of the GSMC Basketball Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. And in this fourth segment, we are going to be talking about DeMar DeRozan and where he could end up going in this free agency. So we have narrowed it down to two teams that could end up getting DeMar. So the first team that I'm going to talk about is the Miami Heat, because the Miami Heat, they are still on the hunt for a big name in the offseason signing. They are another team that's been rather quiet in their free agency moves, aside from, re-signing Kevin Love, I believe. And, everyone knows how good of a player Kevin Love really is and how valuable he is to the team, especially, with this old age. Now, the Heat, they don't really have all that much cap room to be able to sign DeMar. Like, they don't really have much cap available. And since he is an unrestricted free agent, this signing could really be out of the question. So, getting their hands on the six-time All-Star is most likely going to require Miami to strike some sort of sign-and-trade deal with the Chicago Bulls. So, this sort of, because of this second apron and because of, the amount of money that teams are allowed to give players in free agency with these new CBA rules, it makes it a lot more difficult for the Miami Heat to be able to work out a deal to send DeMar over to Miami. So, who is possibly going to end up in the sign and trade? Well, there are sources that believe that Caleb Martin is going to be the one involved in this sign and trade over to the Bulls. Now, League insider Jake Fisher and Dan Devine recently discussed the prospect of DeMar taking his talents to South Beach, and it was reported that the latest episode of the No Cap Room podcast that the Heat could be inclined to send Caleb Martin to Chicago in order to get DeRozan and in order to finish the deal. So here's a quote. Quote, DeMar is arguably the biggest piece still on the board. There's definitely been some talk of potential double sign and trade to him to Miami and Caleb Martin back to Chicago. I have not gotten that confirmed as a serious thing that's being discussed, but people in the league had definitely talked about it. Now, like DeRozan, Martin is also a free agent, and he too has failed to negotiate a new deal with the Miami Heat, and according to the above report, Martin could emerge as a key piece in the potential trade deal between the Heat and the Bulls, and in this scenario, Miami would get a big-name star that they desperately wanted, and while DeRozan will be able to secure his future outside of Chicago. So, you're basically killing two birds with one stone in this one. Now, the other team that is in the talks is obviously the Los Angeles Lakers, and even more so now, because quite recently, if you guys see, that is DeMar DeRozan, and if you guys are cultured in, if you guys are well-versed in hip-hop, he recently appeared on the Kendrick Lamar music video that was shot in Compton, which is in California. That is where DeMar DeRozan is from. Now, people on Twitter and people watching the music video, They Not Like Us, literally that's the name of the music video, Not Like Us, if you guys are interested in watching, a lot of people are interested, where they immediately went to commenting how how DeMar DeRozan, he was from Compton, and how this could be a sign that he might go to the Lakers. Obviously, all the basketball fans, they were super quick to comment about this once they saw that DeMar was actually in the music video. In fact, Kendrick Lamar, he actually gave him a shout out saying how DeRozan came home in the lyrics in the song. So DeRozan came home. His home is in California. Does this mean he's going to the Lakers? No one knows, but we will see, because that is obviously, with him in the music video, the talks started coming back up yet again, because they died down a little bit once LeBron James signed that max, but now with this music video coming in, it sort of rejuvenated that thought process that, oh, DeMar DeRozan's going to come back home. DeMar is going to play in Los Angeles. And it had everyone that was that's a California native just thinking like, why would he be on the music video if this wasn't a sign to come back over to LA, Los Angeles, over in Compton and in California. So just a little bit of food for thought there. However, I don't really think the Lakers are going to be able to work out a deal with someone like DeMar. I genuinely don't think so, given how LeBron already signed the max with the Lakers. Now, depends on how the trade works, depends on if they are willing to also do a sign and trade with DeMar, and possibly, I guess, try and get rid of some of their players and send them to Chicago in exchange for DeMar, so that way he could play in California. And really, it's like, it's a very thin line. Like, I'm not entirely sure what to really believe in. I don't really think that this is enough to sort of say that, oh, he's got to go to Los Angeles. I don't think just him being on a music video and him being, while he is shouted out and like for coming home, I don't really think that's going to really change much, because like I said before, it's really just his hometown. Like, that's just where he's from. So really, he could have just showed up on the music video just because, like, since Kendrick Lamar is a very popular California rapper, just because he is it's like a hometown friend, I guess you could say. And it might not be seen as a hint of where he's going in free agency, but obviously, like, if he does decide to go to the Lakers in free agency, everyone's going to immediately point to this music video that just dropped a few hours ago, and on the 4th of July. And again, could end up happening, could also end up not happening. I'm more leaning on the fact that it won't happen as opposed to it will happen, because genuinely, I'm not a fan of how the Lakers have been handling the off season, and I'm not a fan of being that optimistic person that thinks that they are going to make it. Well, not really the optimist that they're going to make it, but the optimistic person that they are going to be able to sign all this talent to the team. Now, those seem to be DeMar's two popular choices on where to go, but again, I don't really feel like LA is going to be the one. I think he has a better chance of being on Miami than he does with being on LA, especially since now there's talks about Jimmy Butler not planning on signing the extension with the Miami Heat. So there's possibilities that he might not even be a Heat after this season. So maybe they sign DeMar maybe they get DeMar on the roster, and then the minute that Jimmy Butler decides to sign with another team, they're going to make DeMar as the number one player on their team, and replace Jimmy Butler as the star of the Miami Heat. That could be a possibility. I genuinely see it. I think it would be a pretty fair, I guess it wouldn't be called a trade. I think it would be a fair payoff, I guess you could say, because I remember the 76ers, they tried to replace Jimmy Butler with Tobias Harris, and Jimmy Butler is notoriously known for saying, "Tobias Harris over me?" And while Tobias Harris is a pretty good basketball player, he is not on the same level as Jimmy Butler. Now, DeMar, that might be a different story. While DeMar is definitely not that competent of a defender, or not as competent of a defender as Jimmy, his offensive game and his mid-range pull-up is definitely something to pay attention to, and it is one of DeMar DeRozan's specialties. Now, Jimmy Butler, he's also a mid-range assassin, or he's considered a mid-range assassin, especially if you are a Miami Heat fan. So, DeMar might be a pretty solid pickup if you are, the Miami Heat, and you're looking for that other star to replace Jimmy Butler. So that's really all I have for you on this fourth segment. So now we will go ahead and go into the fifth segment, where I talk a little bit about the Cavs and how they are interested in Miles Bridges. It's going to be a much shorter segment than usual, But again, I will be right back after this short break. But let me know in the comments what you guys think of where DeMar DeRozan's going to end up. Do you think he's going to end up in LA, back at home, or do you think he's going to take his talents to South Beach and join the Miami Heat? Let me know what you guys think in the comments. In the next segment, I'm going to be talking about how the Cavs are interested in Miles Bridges, so I will be right back after this short break. Be sure to stay tuned.